to do when you're trained to save everybody. You know, you're geared to treat everybody you come across. You know, and to have to say, okay, these two, they're dead, and we're not treating them. You know, and then have to wade through all these critical patients and decide who gets treated first. You know, who's going to the hospital first, and that kind of thing. So, you know, that kind of wears on you. And you know, sometimes I think about it, and you hope like hell you made the right decision.
Jeff Young and I actually one day had 3 codes. We had 2 code blues out in the field, and then we, in one of the local ERs, who shall remain Summit, we worked up we worked up a code in the ER for them.
We were the messengers of death that day. Everybody we came near fucking died. We couldn't believe it.
And there's this patient in there for GI problem, stomach pain, something, GI bleeding, something. And a nurse at the nurse's station is going, what's happening? They've got him on the heart monitor, and they got a little thing at the desk. What's happening in there? What's going on his monitor? Hey, someone go in and check on him. Nurse goes in, comes out a few seconds later, literally doing this. It's a code! It's a code! So pandemonium reigns.
So, I go in there, they got a nurse in there doing chest compressions, like giving him a rub down or something. It was just ridiculous. The guy's in a rhythm that should have been shocked right away. They got a doctor in there trying to tube him instead of just shocking him and restarting his heart, and then the whole system will start. So we go in there, the nurse is doing shady CPR, so we just push her out of the way.
He takes over compressions. Get in the other crash car, and a nurse comes out and starts trying to pull the paddles off. She's like, we just need the paddles. Paddles don't come off. He's pulling them and pulling them. I'm like, really? They don't come off. So I pull the crash cart in there. And they're like, just shock him, just shock him. I'm like, wait, I got to put down the pads first so we don't burn the guy's chest. And charge up to 200, zap him. Nothing. I charge up to 300, zap him. Nothing, you know, and still pandemonium. And I charge up to, by this time I got him intubated. Charge up to 360. Put on, you know, nice amount of force there, push down, zap. Right when I zap the guy, this big, like, blood clot shoots out of the tube and hits me right in the arm. Blah. At the same time, the guy pops out of V-fib into a sinus attack. His pulse comes back. He starts breathing again. He starts waking up. You know, and I'm like, bye. I'm like, blood clot is running down my arm. I'm like, bye, see ya, and walk out of there.
I couldn't believe it. The guy would have most certainly died had Niels not defibrillated him. And the guy did fine.
There's a lot of people out there who thinks we're just a bunch of renegades, and that ain't it.
5150, 3820 West, 3820 West, cross of Apcar and West Mac.
5150 is a psychiatric hold that the police department put on people for violent behavior toward others, if they're a danger to themselves or others, or if they've taken an overdose or something else along those lines. In this particular instance, my old partner got a call, code 2 for a 5150, the Oakland police on scene. And they get there, and they're asked the cop, where's the 5150?
First EMT, right?
Huh? No. They were there first. This is a different one.
Okay.
And he's over there against a tree. He's not talking to us. He's not saying anything. And he has a history of being a psychiatric patient, so we're 5150. They go over, and this guy's got himself, his belt's kind of hung up on the tree, and he's propped up, and his head's down like this. And they go to touch him and shake him, and he falls over, and he's stiff as a fucking board. And these cops had put this guy, a dead guy, on a psychiatric hold.
I had an ambulance stolen one time.
Yeah.
5150 broke out of the hospital and stole our ambulance.
Great.
He's driving
Makes you feel kind of naked, doesn't it?
Oh, I'm sitting in the hospital parking lot with the rest of my buddies laughing at me, and this guy's driving all over town with the lights and the sirens on, at the microphone singing, "It's just a love machine." He's driving around, "Woo, woo, it's just a love machine, and it won't work for nobody but you." And he's driving around all over Riverside. Cops are chasing him. He finally just parked and got out. Didn't break nothing, didn't hurt anything.
This is the biggest babysitting job you will ever do in your life. It is. You know what I mean? It is a big, you're baby. And the funny thing is, you're babysitting adults. You're babysitting adults.
When you're talking to these people, you know, doing a history on them, you know, they refer to their bodily functions like I had a wee-wee or a poo-poo. You know, 45-year-old man, you know, or referring to a genital pain, my wee-wee hurts. It's like,
Come on, man.
it's true, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm taking. I'm taking a little blue pill, a little red pill, a pill with a big red line in it. It's like, all right, thanks.
There's another one. So, what kind of medical history does your child have? Well, about a year ago, she had smiling baby Jesus.
Smiling mighty Jesus.
I go, smiling baby Jesus? Yeah, smiling baby Jesus. Spinal meningitis. To describe my job to a friend of mine would be like saying, I go to San Leandro, I pick up an ambulance, and I drive to LA and back every day. You know, and maybe run 2 or 3 calls in between.
Fremont 544, modified back to 680 in South Mission.
There's no sense in what dispatch does. The best organization in the country, and they've got the weakest dispatch that there could be. Because a person dials 911, they talk to a fire dispatcher or a cop dispatcher, then they talk to a fire dispatcher, and then they talk to our dispatcher, and they talk to us. Same thing the game we used to play in Cub Scouts. You know, you have your 15 guys in the Cub Scout troop all lined up, and the den mother gives a little phrase to one Cub Scout in his ear, and he passes it down, and you know, it starts off as spinal meningitis, and it ends off as smiling baby Jesus. You know, it's the same thing.
One day you hear them asking a unit, they're 1020, and they're like, oh, we're on, you know, like Jackson Street or something in Hayward. They're like, well, negative. We show your ambulance. Well, we show your ambulance in the bay. And they're like, well, we're not in the bay. Well, that's where we show your unit. I mean, the dispatchers were insisting that this ambulance was out in the bay because that's where it was shown. It was out in the bay. So, well, we show your unit out there. You're right. You're right. You got us, man. We're sailing.
Chitty chitty bang bang.
Right. We've got it's amphibious, and we're out here fishing. We'll bring it back up on land. Yeah.
How about this? The 3 questions most asked, I would say, in the 10 years that I've been a paramedic and stuff. And one would be, my favorite is like, what's the grossest thing you've ever seen? I mean, everybody always asks that and everything, so I just say your face. I have no idea. I mean, what is gross to you? I don't know.
This cop and I were talking. Well, I don't know what we were talking about, but he reaches into his uniform and he whips out this Polaroid picture, which he shows to me, and I look at it, I'm like, nah, what the hell is that? And he's like, oh, this is what I went to last night. This woman, it was a picture of this woman laying on the floor, and this was like, what, early October, and they figure she had died sometime late September, so it had been like almost 2 weeks since she died. And they don't know if she was murdered or committed suicide or what, but they found her in her apartment, and she's laying there dead, and she had a cat, and apparently the cat had gotten hungry and had started chewing on her face and had eaten her eyes, her eyeballs, her nose, her lips, and all these sockets, and there was no nose, and you could see all the teeth, like sort of that, you know, that skeletal grin, and all the flesh around the edge had sort of rotted, it was kind of blackened, and like, you know, her hair was all back, and the cop was saying all around this woman were these little bloody paw prints, and, you know, sort of really, really disgusting. He said he had a rookie partner who almost puked. And he'd gotten this Polaroid of it and was just like zipping it out and showing it to people. And I was like, oh my God, what is that?
When I was in the Air Force, 1980, when Mount St. Helens blew, I was there we were there, our team was there from Southern California supplementing the rescue team up in Portland. We were there 4 hours after it blew. And for the first 7 days, we were flying rescue, pulling people out of Mount St. Helens. Well, our 10th day there, you know, we were bored. We asked our boss, hey, can we go fly with the Army and pick up bodies? Yeah, sure. So my team leader and I, we go fly with the Army. You ever seen Life magazine back then on Mount St. Helens? And there's one picture, it's his hand sticking out of the ash like this. You ever see that one? But anyway, we picked up that guy and his buddy. It was Hand Man and Running Man. That's what we named these guys. Well, Hand Man was the guy that was buried in this ash, and always above this ash was his hand like this, right?
And almost made it up.
Yes, we're digging him up, right? And he got down to his head and shoulders, and it's like, you know, been cooking for 10 days in this hot ash. So it's like, you know, pot roast. He was like, it was like, you know, and then there's Running Man. He was a guy that was his buddy, and had it like he was like in a dead run, and this big old tree Wile E. Coyote'd him. Just like, you know, he was like in the run position with this big old tree on him, with a chainsaw this tree and rolled the log off him. Well, we get these bodies loaded up in the, you know, body bags and put in the helicopter, and I'm on the helicopter, and I'm like, come on, Fred. That's my teammate, Fred Scanley. Come on, Fred. He's coming. He's walking. He's doing this, you know. Like he's got a chain on his face. He's like, he's walking over to the helicopter. Things spin around his finger and back around his finger. What's Fred got? He's walking. Gets closer. And he gets up close to the pilot and he goes, what do you got, Fred? And Fred goes, this. It's this fucker's eyeball on the optic nerve.
God, man.
Spinning around, you know, doing this. Our pilot, he's like, whoa! He just lost it, man. Throws like all down in front of his uniform. Funny. It was funny as hell, man.
This is how I actually ended up being a paramedic, getting into this kind of stuff. He was up trimming one of this really tall, I forgot what kind of tree it was. And fucking, you know, the chipper, you know, that chick on the, yeah, fucking one day I was playing out in my yard, fucking I hear all screaming, I fucking, what fucking happened? Apparently the guy had fallen out of the tree into the chipper. And there was enough force that his whole body was sucked right down in there. But they just took all the chips away. And that was it.
Did they bring him to the hospital?
Actually, no, because they really couldn't find him. Yeah, I think it was just mixed up in the tree chips. It's kind of a weird call. But
hell of a...
The tree, I forgot what kind it was, but it had like kind of a reddish bark too, so it was real hard to tell. You know, and chips being absorbent.
No,
just pretty much soaked up all that was happening inside the chipper.
Yeah.
You know, run a little soap and water through those and clean them out.
But people ask you, they go, so what is the worst thing you've ever seen, man? And so finally I got tired of telling them stuff, and so I made up this story. And I kind of stole it from a lot of people. You know, basically people make up these stories all the time. But this one story I made up, and I stick with it. It's pretty cool. It was about a limb shredder. And what I did was I told him, I go, well, you know those big limb shredders that they cut the tree branches and they throw them in this machine and it mulches them up? And they go, yeah. Well, as I made this story up, I said, well, we got this call one time for this dude, and he got his arm caught on a branch, and it pulled him into this machine, and it was just heinous. It threw him all over the inside of this truck, and it was just gory and everything. I've never done anything like that, man, but they don't know.
Who knows? A lot of the things that you hear are half rumor, half true, so.
The amount of money the juvenile had in his possession. Wilson, 3412 Wilson Avenue, Oakland, at 1026.
Well, we have a call, so we're going to go now. You move along on the sidewalk.